Hello. We are back with another episode of Turn the Page podcast. I am your host, Paige, and I am so excited to be back in your ears or on your screens once again this week. And we are going to mix it up a little bit. I am going to do a little bit of a Book Club Fridays episode, as well as sharing a little bit about what has been going on in my world, more so my mind. I know, sounds terrifying. It kind of has been. So buckle up, enjoy the ride, and as always, come as you are. I'm so excited to have you here. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. My brain not been functioning at its highest caliber. We have been a bit on the struggle bus, and not in like a sad, self-deprecating way, but just in like, and your ADHD is showing. Like, can you please put it away, Paige? And unfortunately, for the last few weeks, it doesn't really matter how much journaling, intention setting I have been doing. It's just not been as potent. And I'm going to be really honest with you. I haven't been as consistent with it as I probably could be to be helping myself, but that's just where my brain has been. Like, I literally made my bed while I was brushing my teeth this morning. And if that doesn't scream psychotic, I don't know what does. Yeah, so I know in my bones that I have ADHD. I have never been diagnosed. I am unmedicated. I'm just out here raw dogging life, guys. I don't drink. I don't smoke. And yeah, I've never actually been diagnosed with ADHD, but like have done enough research myself that it's like, okay, this is pretty significant. Life would probably be easier if you did something about this. And I don't know. For whatever reason, I have just decided that I am going to attempt to navigate this life willy-nilly out here on my own. And I think that the people who have ADHD understand what I'm talking about. We've all got it a little bit. And I think that that's the thing. I think that that's why I've never gone to the doctor to be diagnosed, is because there are seasons where it doesn't affect me as significantly. And then there are seasons like the one that I'm in currently that I'm like, holy shit. So, you know, I support you guys and all the things that you choose to do in your life. I just need your support right now while I try to navigate the batshit craziness that's going on in my brain. And how am I seeing this show up? I'm seeing this show up in the ways in which I feel exhausted. Like, my mind is running a marathon constantly, and it doesn't necessarily mean I'm like thinking about things constantly or overanalyzing. It's like background noise. It's just like background noise is constantly going on, like tinkering in my mind, like da 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 da. It's like clocking everything all the time consistently. And that is a little bit of that hypervigilance coming back into play, but it's also like just this constant absorption and process of noise. I also think that I'm like energetically going through a really big transformation. It's like that up leveling, lots of change percolating in my life, a lot of uncertainty. It's like, okay, like what's next? You know, I've gotten things transitioned for my hair business. It's like, but I've also been spending a lot of time writing, specifically one of my romance novels that I'm just like really passionate about right now. And I think that there's a reason for that, because writing books and transitioning into that like author mindset is very much what's next for me. Utilizing this platform and this podcast as a way to share my story continually, and then, you know, show a spotlight on other people whose stories I think are valuable and important. Um, you know, like the guests that I have brought on the last 2 months. But it's like there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty happening in our community. There's a lot of uncertainty happening in our school corporation. And I just don't know what the next year fully looks like. I don't have the full picture. And I am the kind of person that I like to figure shit out. I like to know what it's going to look like. And I will think about it, stew about it, and try to control it to death until I do. And I am just in a season to where it's like fully surrendering, fully letting go, not being able to control things, and just having to be patient and wait to see what happens. And that's not my strong suit, guys. Okay. So I've also found myself like having like really strong bouts of anxiety. And like I've shared in like previous episodes, I haven't had that in a while. Um, and I've been becoming overstimulated very easily. I work in the salon Monday through Thursday, and then I've been getting to Fridays, and I am literally just like, I can't function because I feel overstimulated, because I feel very drained, because I feel very exhausted. And I think that that's part of it is like the ways in which ADHD can show up in my life. It's like decision fatigue. I literally cannot make another decision. Like when it came time for like my baby daddies to ask me what I wanted for Mother's Day, one of the things that I said was like, I don't want to have to make any decisions. Like, do you want to do anything? I don't want to have to make any decisions. That's it. I need you guys to be my brain. And that can be a really scary thing to admit because I'm the one that likes to make all the plans because I'm the one that likes to have control. And here I am just like throwing my hands up, being like, I literally can't fucking do it. It's also like showing up in this way that I feel like I'm doing so many tasks at the same time. It's like I will kind of try to shut my brain off with a distraction, whether it's like a terrible movie. Like I've watched some really shitty movies lately. Um, Why that's relevant, I have no idea. Literally, this conversation is so chaotic. But I've like been watching like shitty movies or like reading a ton of books, and I'm not judging myself for that at all. This is just like some of the time, some of the things that I have to do to find a semblance of peace. And I've been finding myself like getting on my phone a bunch. And the phone thing is way more unhealthy for me than the reading or the movies. And so as of this morning, I deleted all my socials off my phone for the remainder of the weekend. So for the next 3 days, we are taking a step back. Um, so that has been what I've been leaning on in the times to where I feel very overwhelmed, very overstimulated. I'm trying to like dissociate. I'm trying to shut my brain off. And again, like I said, I'm not judging myself for that, but I am observing it. I am noticing it. It's like, okay, it doesn't mean that I need to not do those things necessarily. The phone thing, yeah, I need to put that bitch away. But the reading and the movies, it doesn't mean that I don't need to do those things, but maybe just being more intentional about it. And then also like realizing that sometimes it's not that I need to shut my brain off or I need to distract myself. It's that I actually need to rest. Like you're tired, honey, because you just need to rest. You need to not be consuming or doing anything with your brain at this moment. Go outside and touch some grass. Literally, my 6-year-old said that to me last week. She was like, Mom, I think you need to go touch grass. And I was like, Presley, I think you're a genius and you're right. But apparently, Indiana weather can't get its shit together. So it's been freaking cold outside again. Anyways, I digress. But as I've been like navigating all of this, I've been in a continual state of observance. It's like I am watching myself spiral. And some of the other examples that I have had in this instance is I had a conversation with my oldest daughter's boyfriend's mom. And I have had a few conversations with her, but in this conversation, I was just like in a really good mood and I was really hyper because I feel like that has also been my energy. It's been operating in extremes. Either I am really high on life and really, really hyper and really energetic and talkative and witty and funny and all the things, or I'm just like, I forgot how to form words. Okay. So I had one instance this week where I was like in that state where I was like high on life, being funny, being witty, and doing all the things. And I left that conversation, this great, wonderful conversation, and I looked at my oldest daughter's dad, and I was like, am I too much? I was like, and I go, and before he could respond, I said, I know I'm not too much. Like, I actually know I'm not too much. And I know I'm entertaining and I know I'm hilarious. And I know that that was a really good conversation. But why is my brain telling me in this moment that I'm too much? Why is my brain being so overly critical? Again, ADHD. Also a very significant season of life that's bringing up all of these patterns so that I can take a look at them. Now, I'm not taking them personally. Now, I'm not using them to spiral further. No, I'm not using them for this like whole self-sabotage bullshit that I used to. I'm just paying attention to them. Like, okay, Paige, you have to stop believing these things about yourself. You have to stop believing these things about yourself. That is what it's telling me. You have to stop believing these things about yourself. Your brain is wired a little bit differently. That is A-okay. I'm also not a medical professional, so please don't take anything that I tell you as medical advice if you resonate with this conversation. Do your own research. Become your own medical professional. But I like watched the thought trickle in, and I watched the feeling that followed, and I observed it, I acknowledged it, and then, I said it to a safe person that had been also involved in the conversation, and he looked at me and he was like, "No, you're a funny person. Stop being so hard on yourself." And I was like, "Hey, thanks." And even my oldest daughter was like, "Mom, you're crazy. Like, what are you thinking?" And I looked at her and used it as a teaching moment, and I said, "Listen, even at 34 years old, I still feel insecure sometimes too. Thank you for validating me in the fact that I am just, again, hyperfixating, overanalyzing, overthinking this." We move past the moment. But it's the ways in which my mind wants to attach itself to these instances, to these thoughts, to these things. And it very rapidly wants to spiral on them. It very rapidly wants to do something with it or fix it or change it. And I've spent the majority of my life doing that, having these thoughts, feeling these feelings about myself, having this internal critic that is so fucking loud and so like fast. It happens so quickly. It's like I don't even realize that it's happening until I'm like in it. And then having to know what to do with it afterwards. Like I said, the work that I've done, the ways in which that I've helped and allowed myself to heal have set me up for success to be able to move through it so much quicker. But again, it can be exhausting when your mind is working that hard all the time. It will drain you physically. And that is where I have been. Like I said, it's not just in my own life, it's in my kids' lives, and it's in the things that are happening in our community, and it's the things that are happening in the world, and it's the things that are continually unfolding all of the time, but then also this like push and this momentum to move forward. Move forward. Do something. What's next? What now? Why do we feel this way? Why do we feel so many things? Why do we have such, strong emotions all the time? And so I've also noticed myself, like I said, on that high spectrum, feeling that way and then sliding in to the low. And so what do I mean by the low? The low is just like no energy. The low is like significant brain fog. The low is when I feel like I constantly can't get it right, and other people are constantly, you know, superseding what it means to like be a human while I'm just back here like barely tagging along. And again, I know that that's not true. The ways in which that I can interact in a conversation when I'm feeling that way, it's like words won't form correctly. Like the disconnect happens between my brain and my mouth. And I'm just like, what the hell? Well, this is a result of the exhaustion. And like I said, it's just a short season. It better be short. But the season that I'm in is teaching me a lot. And I'm trusting that the messages are going to get more clear the further down this journey we travel. But like yesterday, I had somebody ask me like, "Oh, you have a podcast? Like, what's it about?" And I like was like, "Oh, well, it's about me and my life and things I've been through." And like the answer was so clunky and it was so far separated from the actual truth of what I wish to, I don't know, put into this podcast, put into this message, put into this platform, the ways in which I want to inspire people and empower people and be of service to people through my story and through other people being able to come onto this platform and share their stories and the things that we can learn from each other and connect with each other and the community that we can build where everybody fits because there's enough room and there's enough space for everyone, even if your brain doesn't function in a linear capacity. So, yeah, that's how I've been doing. How about you guys? If you have any resources for somebody trying to navigate their ADHD without a medical diagnosis or being medicated, I would really love all of them, please. Books, websites, an exorcism. I'm not sure. Whichever you think could be the most beneficial to me at this moment. But in all seriousness, I I've been feeling a little crazy and I've been feeling a little overwhelmed and I've been feeling a little disoriented. And with that energy, what I have found is that I have to be very careful about who I'm spending my time with these days. I have to be very mindful about allowing myself to rest and disconnect. This is the first time that I've deleted socials since my social media detox. Um, last from Thanksgiving to the new year, and I already feel relieved from it. Social media has just been giving me a very like a very big case of the ick. That's the only way I can describe it. And it's not because I don't follow people that I love and I love to see the things, but there's also like intertwined with it so much consumerism and so much pressure and so much information. And I think that it's healthy for us to disconnect from that. I think it's healthy for us to be able to take a step back. I think sometimes it's the things that our brains need to be able to just rest. And so I'm giving that gift to myself. Um, and I'm excited because it is Mother's Day this weekend. I've got plans to just like hang out with my kids and, you know, do some crafts, maybe do a little shopping, go to a bookstore, but also just like not have to make any like big hard decisions. And I have to remind myself that I think it's important for all of us, especially when we're struggling in a really tough mental season, to remind ourselves that we deserve grace, that we deserve to be able to just find joy. We deserve to not have it all figured out, that we get to just enjoy ourselves, enjoy this life, enjoy this moment, enjoy our kids, enjoy ourselves, enjoy our dog who likes to take lots of naps and be the co-host that snores in the background if you can hear her. Um and so yeah, I think that it's also important to be honest about where you're at and when you're struggling. I think it helps you to recognize and notice who your people really are and the ones that will love you in all seasons, in all shapes, in all forms, in a grounded place or one that's more scattered. The ones that will listen to the things that you need. I am not afraid to tell people what I need. That is something that I've recognized about myself. It's like when I need a break or when I am feeling overwhelmed or when I'm feeling triggered, like I usually can be pretty honest about where I'm at and what I'm doing. Obviously, that's what I do here every single week with you guys. And I think that that's a valuable skill. Sometimes it does not always come out very gracefully, and we're still working on that. But um you shouldn't expect people to read your mind, and you shouldn't expect people to be able to know what you're going through if you're not willing to tell them. That's an expectation that you're putting on other people, and a lot of times they're going to fall short. So save yourself the trouble and just be honest. I don't know. I don't know if there's a whole lot of value in what I just shared for you guys. I definitely know there was for me because I feel better. I feel better being honest. I feel better sharing. I feel human currently at this moment. And, I've been a little bit like a hermit, which I love for myself because I used to force myself so much to be social and do and say yes to things and bend over backwards and I don't know, just create what I thought I quote unquote should out of every single situation rather than honoring how it is that I was actually feeling. And I think it's important for us to be able to honor how it is that we feel because then when we enter into situations, we can offer so much more quality than like the quantity. And there's value in that's important. And I would much rather my presence have more of a quality than just a quantity, being a body in attendance. And I think that's a hard lesson to learn. But we're learning it together, my friends. So if you are also in a moment in time where you feel like mentally you're struggling, I'm going to tell you 3 things. Okay. Number 1, instead of judging yourself, observe yourself. Observe your thoughts, observe your emotions, observe your reactions. And whether you sit down and journal about them, whether you sit and you meditate on them, whether you scream into a pillow about them, it doesn't matter. But just observe rather than judge because you will get much further. You will find yourself closer to love when you choose to observe versus judge or criticize yourself. Okay? That's number 1. Number 2, I want you to pay attention to how you feel in certain environments and around certain people. Okay? Your body will tell you. Your body will tell you. Do you know how I know I am dysregulated in an environment? I start to bloat. Like my gut will start to hurt. Like I swallowed a rock. And that is how I will know I either stayed longer than I should, I'm in an environment that I shouldn't be, or I didn't have the capacity to show up and exert as much energy as I was exerting. And sometimes it doesn't hit me till halfway through. And then it's like my body telling me, ding, 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 our timer is going off. We need to go home. But pay attention to how you feel around certain people and in certain environments because it is magic. It is a gift to yourself when you can start to utilize your intuition and listen to your body. It is a messenger. It will tell you. Pay attention to it. Strengthen that connection to it. And then the third thing I want to tell you is be willing to disconnect. Be willing to disconnect. Whether you have to delete your social media for a few days, whether you have to wait a few days to return some emails, whether you have 17 text messages waiting in your inbox, but you don't have to give yourself permission to disconnect. Years ago, people didn't have access to us 24/7. And sometimes it doesn't mean they have to like leave people on red or you have to ignore them. Sometimes you can just be like, hey, I don't have the capacity for this right now. Let me get back to you in a couple days. That's it. Be honest. Be honest, again, about where you are, but be willing to disconnect. Social media specifically can be so much and so overwhelming. Like I said, whether it's like this constant content about what you need to do to glow up or what you need to do to, redo your spring wardrobe and the things that you need to buy or the vacations that you see other people going on or the next holistic remedy that you need to add to your list so that you don't look like you aged a day. And I'm not dogging on anybody who creates content like this. Like, I think that anybody can people should use social media in whatever capacity they desire. It's none of my business. I'm just saying the feelings that I get, the things that, like, I am feeling overwhelmed by. So that's why I'm using these examples. But when you start to feel overwhelmed and like these things are just creating more comparison, they're creating more stress, they're enticing you to spend money you don't have or compare yourself to other people and your lives to what other people have or are doing. Give yourself that permission. The world is not going to fall apart if you aren't on TikTok for 3 days. Your mind might actually be able to kind of piece itself back together. So, that is my advice. That's the advice that I'm taking for myself. That's the advice that I want to give to you with a big, fat, squishy hug and a smooch because we all could use a little bit of love at this moment. And I think that when we can focus on that and we can focus on giving ourselves that love, then it's so much easier for us to show up in the world with our kids, with our partners, with our dogs, with our friends, with our coworkers, and give that to them. Okay. All right. Now, now that we got all that out of the way, let's talk about books because your girl has been reading a lot. And I have found myself reading so much. And when I read and when I'm talking about books, it gives me such fuel as an author. So I love that. I love it's like, okay, if I'm talking about books and I'm reading books that I love, it inspires me. It inspires me as a writer. And so I have been working on a book. It's called No Other Choice. It's a romance novel and it's very much infused with the elements of toxic relationships, grief, anxiety, um, learning how to navigate these things and navigate very intense relationships, being with someone who has an addiction. And so as I'm like writing these characters, writing their story, you know, it's given my restlessness purpose and which I think is also important. Okay, so like tying in with the ADHD. It's like it's so important for us to be active in creative ways in healthy ways, not just in the dissociating and the disconnecting. Moving my body. I've been trying to work out. I've been trying to, and not like anything crazy. I've been doing like 15-minute workouts a day because it's like getting my body moving, getting the energy going. I've also been, like I said, writing a lot, getting in my sauna, just like doing things that help to regulate my nervous system. But as I've been writing, it's also like watching myself and watching and observing these patterns coming up. It's like you test yourself. You test yourself constantly, but it's like I'm in my own world and I'm in a world that I'm creating. And it's like a first draft isn't supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be messy. It's supposed to be messy and it's supposed to be like it can be shit. But that doesn't mean that there's not potential. It doesn't mean that there's not value there. It doesn't mean that it can't grow and evolve into something that's really fucking phenomenal. And I'm a good writer. Like, I'm a good writer. Like, some of the shit that I read, I go back and I read it and I'm like, oh my God, who was that? Who did that? Like, that's good. And so, and allowing myself to have fun with it instead of like taking the joy out of it by overanalyzing it to death. So I've been writing and I've been reading, and it's been pretty fucking phenomenal, if I do say so myself. And so the books that I want to talk about are, well, 3 of them are by Daphne Perry. I've been on such a Daphne Perry kick this year. I love her. She's like one of my favorite authors. But yeah, I've just been like devouring her books. Let's talk Shield of Sparrows. Okay. I read Shield of Sparrows, her romantasy series, the first book last year when it first came out. And I absolutely loved it. It's the first romantasy that I've ever read. And so it was like getting into the world building, getting into the romance, getting into kind of the twists and the turns and the things that happen. And I was just enamored with the characters, the way that it was written, the way that I could envision the world. I love how she writes smut. I loved how she's like infused the magic and the monsters into the story. I'm so excited to see how it ends with the third book next year. But I absolutely loved it the first time. And then the second book came out this March. Was it in March? What month are we in? No, it came out in April. I lied. And I dove right in, and it was called Rights of the Starling. And so in Rights of the Starling, there's new point of views that are brought in. And at first I was like, what is happening? Like, why are we bringing in this entirely new point of view into this story? And the main characters, the main character, like, couple, like, they are, spoiler alert, they become separated. They're not together in this moment. They're together, like, physically, location wise, are separated for a time being, location wise. So in Rights of the Starling, we get this new point of view. Their locations, the main characters, Odessa and the Guardian, are in two different places. And so you're seeing what Odessa is going through and the things that she's navigating, things that she's traveling, while also integrating this new point of view. And I was kind of confused in the beginning. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? But I trust Evney. She's not going to lead us astray. And so I'm reading and I'm reading. I'm getting invested in this new point of view and this new storyline and what is going on. And then I'm also like definitely still invested in Odessa's story because, girl, she has got it going on. She's growing into herself and her character arc is so interesting and so cool. The ways in which this all comes together, like the last 20% of this book, I fucking bawled my eyes out, like, for 3 chapters. I bawled my eyes out for 3 chapters. Like, I was just like, I could not stop crying. And it was so beautifully written and it was so heartfelt. And it was just like, so I don't even have words. It was so good. I absolutely loved it. And now I know that some people were upset because it was more about the plot than it was about the romance. And that was like in the back of my mind at times where I was like, "Oh man, like I wish we had some more of the romance in there." But it was also supplemented by different romance in the story. I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, I do remember feeling that way in certain times, but it also didn't take away from the story at all for me. And I just loved the ways in which it all played out and the ways in which they were in different locations at different times throughout the story. So you get to know the world even more and you get to understand the plot even more and you get to understand the magic even more. And yeah. I loved it, and I'm literally, like, counting down the days until the 3rd and final book comes out next year. So, if you like romantasy, you like the world building, you like, you're in it for the plot as much as you are the romance, I highly recommend. I highly recommend. I recommend anything by Devney Perry, but I love this, and so I read Rights of the Starling and then was like, I'm not done being in this world. So then I went back and reread Shield of Sparrows. And again, I devoured it the second time the same way that I devoured it the first time. And I being able to like know what happens in the second book and then going back and reading the first book, it was so fun to be able to like put the pieces together. I'm also one that, like, maybe this is because this is my first romantasy. I didn't find myself, like, trying to, like, figure it all out. Like, I just was, like, in the story. Now, did I want to look ahead and read ahead? Yes, but I did not. I allowed myself to be in the moment and just enjoy it. And so being able to do that then with a reread and going, like, putting the pieces together was super fun. So highly recommend both 5-star reads for me. I absolutely loved it. If you can make me cry while I'm reading a book, you're a goddess. Okay. You're a goddess, Devney Perry, and I am obsessed with you. The next book that I read by Devney Perry is called nope, The Bluff. Sorry. ADHD. The Bluff. And it is the second book in her Calamity Montana series. And I read the first one, The Bribe, a while ago. And I enjoyed it. this one I enjoyed. It wasn't like one of my favorites, but I love the ways in which she integrates these really unique storylines together. The couple had great chemistry. It was a marriage of convenience thing. He's a single dad. She's kind of just like lost and trying to find her way. And so the ways in which that they leaned on each other, the ways in which their story unfolded, I got a little bit annoyed with the male main character because I just felt like his walls were so predominantly strong and like but yet he had blinders on for other people. His walls were so strong to the woman that was trying to like love him and show up for him, but yet he had like blinded trust in these other people in his life that like were doing no good. So that was kind of annoying. But, all a part of the character arc and the story and the progression and the ways in which things unfolded. Um so yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good. It was so easy. It's just an easy read. Okay. These Western Montana based series that Devney Perry writes, you can just read so easily and it's like effortless just to kind of get lost in the story. And I love that, especially like I said, my mind has been very overactive lately. And so I can enjoy the simplicity of it, but also like the entertainment of it and all of the things that she infuses into these books. And so, yeah, I cannot wait. I'm going to continue. I just got like, there's a novella. It's called The Booty, I think. And I just ordered it. So I'll probably read that one next in the series. And then I'll go on. I think that the one after that is The Brazen. So yeah, stay tuned. I will be reading the rest of it. I'm just not sure when. It's not one of those series either that like I feel like, oh, I have to go on to the next one to see what happens. Like some of them, it's like, okay, the storyline is continuing. This is definitely more so. I don't know if they're necessarily considered like standalones, like within a series, but like they're not as interconnected as some of her other series have been. So that is all about The Bluff. And then I read, switching things up, I read Mistakes Were Made by Lucy Score. And this is the second book in her Story Lake series. And it's her newest series that she has written. And it's very much like Schitt's Creek, Gilmore Girls vibes. And the town that they live in, Story Lake, is very much that. Like it's a very much a combination of those two TV shows. Very quirky, very eccentric, very off the wall. There's lots of diversity. There's lots of plot as well as character arc. And so Mistakes Were Made is about the second Bishop brother, Gage, and the best friend, Zoe. Is that her name? Yeah, that's her name. I had a brain fart. I had a brain fart. Okay. My ADHD is showing. And so they become friends with benefits. And spoiler alert again, they end up falling in love. And she also is a character with an ADHD representation. And so that was really cool, especially with where my brain has been lately, to have that kind of a representation in a story. I felt like sometimes like the self-deprecating story internal monologue of her like I just like felt bad for just like, girl, why are you beating yourself up so much? Um, but it was really cool to see her character arc and see her grow through that. And then because she is like Miss Free Spirit, kind of careless, risk taker, all over the place, unorganized. And then Gage is very much like Mr. Do It Right, Mr. Perfect. I felt like they balanced each other really well. Their chemistry was phenomenal. I love the quirky storylines. I love the ways in which they integrate themselves into the town and the things that are happening with the plot. I love the ways in which they become really, really solid friends and they build that friendship. I did think at certain times some of the things that were happening, like some of the quirkiness was like way over the top. I was like, okay, like we're like really gone off the rails with some of this. And then like trying to remember all of the characters, side characters from around the town felt like a lot sometimes. Like I was like, wait, who are these people? How are they connected? What do they do? Um, and so yeah, I found myself like that being a little overwhelming sometimes. But all in all, I love the story. I love Lucy Score. She writes great books. Was very long too. Like it was very long. And I will definitely be reading the third book about the third Bishop brother. So I highly recommend if you want to have a little giggle, read a kind of silly book, but one that's got great substance, great characters, great detail. Like Lucy Score, she really just like immerses you into the environments and the landscapes. And I think that that's always really super great, especially if you have a visual mind like yours truly. Currently, right now, I am reading Rock Bottom Girl, I think is what it's called, by Lucy Score. And I'm enjoying it. It's one of her older ones, but it is a standalone. It's not part of a series. But I am enjoying it. I haven't read any of her books in a while, so it was nice to pick them up and be reminded why I love her as an author. So, all right, guys, this was a little chaotic as expected. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. And I hope wherever you are listening, you know that you are enough, you are loved, and you are doing fucking fantastic. Just keep on trucking, guys. Keep on trucking. That's all we can do. One day at a time. All right. Please come say hi over on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook at Turn the Page Podcast. Leave a rate or review only if they are nice, because mean girls not allowed up in this joint. And yeah, subscribe, follow, all of the things. I highly, highly appreciate it. And I love you all so much. See you next week. Bye-bye.